Do you know that moment when she's testing you, just to see how far you'll go? That look in her eyes, the tiny smile that doesn't reach her lips, the subtle way she pushes boundaries, not to hurt you, but to see your reaction. Most men freeze, stumble, or try to impress, thinking they need to act a certain way. But here's the truth. They're not testing your patience, your wallet, or your charm. They're testing your mind, your emotional control, and the strength of your presence. And if you fail, even slightly, she immediately knows how much power she has over you. You might think this is cruel or unfair, but it's not. It's female psychology at its rawest, a mechanism designed to filter out weakness and reveal who truly belongs in her life. Women are wired to detect emotional responses faster than you realize. When she asks a simple question like, "Do you really care?" or makes a statement meant to provoke, she isn't fishing for compliments. She's fishing for your stability. Every word you say, every micro-expression you give, matters more than you think. It's the way you handle her unpredictability, not your polished speech or jokes, that leaves a mark on her subconscious. This is why most men fail. They react emotionally, defensively, or over-eagerly. And that's the moment she steps back, curious, intrigued, calculating. She wanted a reaction, but the reaction you gave changed everything. Now, here's the part most men never understand. She wants a reaction that's real, not rehearsed. She doesn't care about the pickup lines you memorized, the confident walk, or even the gifts. She's looking for honesty in the midst of unpredictability, a quiet confidence, a subtle hint that you see her for who she is, but you don't need to be controlled or defined by her mood swings. That's magnetic. That's the reaction she didn't expect. You've learned to hold your center even when the world, or her, pushes your buttons. You've created an internal calm, a fortress she can sense without fully understanding. And here's the kicker. This reaction shifts her perception of you instantly. From someone she can toy with, to someone she respects, maybe even fears a little, not in a negative way, but in a way that commands her attention and curiosity. Most men think they need to impress, persuade, or perform. But the truth is, the strongest reactions come from not reacting in the expected way. When she tests you with passive-aggressive comments, flirtatious teasing, or even subtle jealousy, she expects the usual: defensiveness, validation-seeking, or confusion. But if you respond with calm, clarity, and quiet strength, it flips her internal script. Suddenly, she's the one wondering about you. She's intrigued, maybe even a little disoriented, because the man she tried to manipulate is operating on a different level. He's centered, self-aware, and unshakable. That's not arrogance. That's mastery. That's understanding female psychology in a way most men never will. And here's what happens next. She starts testing more, probing deeper. But now she's curious. She's observing. She's evaluating if your reaction was a fluke or a glimpse into who you truly are. Your calm, your focus, your refusal to be controlled. It's not lost on her. Women may not always articulate it, but they feel it. Your presence becomes magnetic because it's real. She didn't expect this. She wanted to see your reaction, and instead, she saw your strength. And that moment right there changes the entire dynamic between you. After that first moment, after she thought she had seen you crack or bend, everything changes, but subtly. She starts sending signals, tiny hints, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. A lingering glance, a playful tease, a question that seems innocent but carries weight. These are the breadcrumbs she leaves to measure your stability, your awareness, and your ability to navigate her world without losing yourself. Most men see these and either overreact or misinterpret them. They assume she's flirting, or testing, or even playing games, but in reality, she's inviting you to prove your value through presence, not performance. Here's what you need to understand. Women communicate on two levels at all times. There's the surface level, the words, the smiles, the laughter, and then there's the underlying layer, the emotional undertone. The second is far more important. That's where the real test happens. If she's smiling but her eyes are calculating, she's watching for how you handle contradiction, how you respond when expectations aren't met, and how secure you are in your own skin. The reaction most men give is panic or overcompensation, showing that they need approval, that they are insecure. But if you learn to read the undertone and stay grounded, her games lose power. Your calmness becomes a mirror reflecting a stability she can't create herself, and that's intoxicating to her subconscious mind. Think about it. Every woman you've ever met, consciously or unconsciously, has tested you. Not to humiliate you, not to play cruel games, but to assess whether you're a man who can handle life, handle emotion, and navigate unpredictability without breaking. And here's the thing men rarely realize. They don't care about your answers. They care about the energy behind your answers. Did you show panic, desperation, or neediness? Or did you show focus, humor, patience, and control? That energy is everything. That energy communicates strength far more effectively than words ever could. Now, let's address the moments when she steps closer emotionally, when she begins to open up, perhaps share something personal, or challenge a belief you hold. This is where most men fail the second test. They respond with overeagerness, trying to earn her trust or match her intensity. But the men who succeed are those who remain a steady anchor. They listen, they acknowledge, they respond with subtle curiosity and controlled emotion. They understand that vulnerability is powerful, but only when offered strategically. She wants to see that you can engage, connect, and still remain unshakable. That is the ultimate magnet. And this is why the reaction you gave in the first test matters so much. It set the tone for everything else. She wanted to see you falter, but you didn't. That unexpected reaction created tension, intrigue, and respect all at once. Now, every subtle interaction that follows carries a weight she's never felt before. Your calmness becomes a silent force, drawing her closer, forcing her to reconsider her assumptions, and compelling her to evaluate you on a deeper, almost instinctual level. She didn't expect this. She wanted to see your reaction. But what she's experiencing now is far more powerful: your control, your clarity, and your presence. And here's the unspoken truth. Men who master this dynamic don't chase women. They guide energy, they reflect reality, and they operate from a place of awareness. Women sense it immediately. It's not about manipulation, it's about mastery, understanding, and emotional sovereignty. When she sees that you aren't just reacting, she starts wondering, why isn't he like the others? What makes him different? And in that moment, you've shifted from being another man she can test to someone who captivates her curiosity and respect. By now, you've passed the initial test without even trying. She wanted to see your reaction, and what she got was something she didn't expect: composure, presence, and subtle control over your own emotions. And that's where things get fascinating. Because the moment you stop reacting in predictable ways, she starts reacting internally. She begins thinking about you, replaying moments in her mind, analyzing your words, your energy, the way you move, the way you look at her. This is the invisible thread of psychology most men never notice. Attraction is created not just through actions, but through controlled energy and the subtle signals you send without realizing it. Here's the thing most men misunderstand. Women aren't calculating every word consciously. They're feeling your emotional intelligence, your strength, and your unpredictability in a way that triggers subconscious intrigue. A small gesture, a smile held just a fraction longer than usual, a calm response when she tries to provoke, a subtle tease that mirrors her energy can send her mind spinning. She didn't plan for this. She thought she had control, thought she understood the game, but suddenly the rules have changed. And in her mind, she can't stop thinking, why does he feel different? Why does he seem untouchable yet present? Why am I drawn to him even when I try not to be? This is where most men fail. They overcomplicate attraction, thinking it's about gifts, compliments, or impressive gestures. The truth is, it's about strategic invisibility and presence. When you are grounded, calm, and unpredictable in small ways, she starts to feel the gap between other men and you. Other men react, chase, and show neediness. You observe, respond selectively, and remain the constant anchor. That contrast ignites fascination, curiosity, and yes, subtle obsession. She starts measuring every interaction, looking for patterns, and wondering when, if ever, you might reveal a crack in your calm. And here's the crucial part. Most men would try to fill that space with words or actions. But the men who succeed in attraction do nothing. They simply exist as a steady force, letting her mind fill in the gaps, creating a pull that feels almost magnetic. Psychologically, this is what creates desire at its deepest level, a sense of unpredictability paired with emotional stability. Women are wired to seek both security and excitement, and you, if you understand this, can become that rare combination. Your calmness under subtle tests, your confidence without arrogance, your presence without clinginess. They trigger primal curiosity. She starts recalling your energy long after you leave, imagining scenarios, analyzing motives, wondering if she misread something. That's the invisible power most men never access. They chase attraction externally, while the real pull is built internally through consistent strategic energy. And this is why she reacts differently than expected. She wanted a reaction, maybe even a dramatic one, but what you gave her was something entirely new, a reflection of strength and clarity she doesn't encounter every day. That creates tension, mystery, and magnetism all at once. And this is where subtle choices matter: a pause before replying, a measured tone in your voice, a soft but steady gaze. Each tiny behavior reinforces the message. You are centered, self-aware, and untouchable by ordinary attempts to manipulate or control you. She didn't plan for this. She didn't expect to feel pulled toward a man who isn't performing, proving, or pleading, but who simply exists as a force. From this point forward, every interaction she has with you carries weight. Her thoughts about you aren't fleeting. They linger, intensify, and become emotionally charged. And the more you maintain this energy without chasing, the stronger her internal reaction grows. She didn't expect this. And that's why the dynamic is no longer about testing you. It's about her evaluating what you bring into her life. And ultimately, whether she can handle a man who commands his presence rather than reacting to hers. By now, she's already processing you differently than any man she's encountered. She wanted a reaction, a crack in your composure, but instead you gave her control over nothing. And that's when her mind begins to shift in ways she doesn't consciously understand. Respect, desire, and trust are being built simultaneously, not through words, but through subtle cues, micro-behaviors, and your unwavering presence. Most men never realize that these three elements are inseparable in female psychology. The moment you earn one without losing the others, attraction intensifies exponentially. Women observe patterns more than actions. If you remain consistent, calm, and deliberate, even when tested, she starts noticing. She notices how your energy never fluctuates under pressure, how your decisions reflect self-respect, and how your boundaries are firm yet subtle. These things speak louder than compliments, gifts, or attempts to impress. And here's the unspoken truth. She will begin to admire you, not for what you say, but for what she feels in your presence. That silent energy, that magnetic composure, becomes the invisible force pulling her closer. She didn't expect this. She thought she could stir reactions, but instead she's being drawn into a vortex of intrigue and respect she can't articulate. Now, let's talk about desire. Desire doesn't come from chasing. It comes from observing a man who is confident enough to let her tests fail. When you maintain calm under provocation, when you hold your ground without defensiveness, desire builds naturally. She senses your value not because you tell her, but because you demonstrate it effortlessly through your energy. She begins imagining what life with a man like this would feel like: stable, strong, unshakable, yet attuned. Desire grows in her mind long before it's ever expressed in words, because attraction is first felt emotionally, not logically. And desire without respect is fleeting. Desire paired with respect, that's lasting influence. Trust is the final layer, and it's the most critical. Women test trust not with grand declarations, but with micro-experiments. A teasing remark, a boundary push, or a subtle comparison to other men. These are all ways she assesses whether you're reliable, self-assured, and capable of maintaining your own center. Most men fail here, overreacting or trying to control outcomes. But you? You remain anchored, consistent, and calm. Every time you pass one of her subtle tests without drama, her subconscious recognizes reliability. Trust grows invisibly, quietly, but it accumulates faster than you might imagine. She didn't expect a man to be this composed, this unwavering, this untouchable in the right way, and that combination is magnetic. Here's the deeper truth. Women instinctively scan for emotional competence. They are wired to detect a man's ability to lead himself before they consider following him. When you navigate her tests with mastery, she senses your competence on multiple levels: emotional, psychological, and behavioral. Her mind begins a silent evaluation. Is this a man worth investing in? Could he be the kind of partner who challenges her while grounding her? Can she trust him without question? The answer, thanks to your unexpected reaction, is already forming. Yes. She didn't plan for this. She wanted a reaction. But what she got instead was a blueprint of reliability, strength, and unspoken dominance. And that's when the shift is complete. The dynamic between you changes forever. You are no longer just a man she is testing. You've become a man she observes, desires, and respects simultaneously. Every interaction from this point forward carries weight, influence, and emotional gravity. She didn't see it coming, and that's why your initial reaction matters more than any strategy, line, or gesture. It set the stage for real attraction, deep respect, and subconscious desire. And now, you are operating on a level most men will never reach because you mastered the subtle power of presence, patience, and psychological insight. By this point, she is already captivated, not by flashy words or superficial charm, but by something far deeper: your unexpected reaction, your calmness, your unshakable presence. She wanted to see your weakness, and instead she saw strength. That is the moment she begins replaying your energy in her mind, analyzing every pause, every measured word, every subtle display of self-control. Women are masters at decoding emotional signals, and the signals you send without trying are far more influential than anything you could say. You are no longer a man she can predict or control. You are a force that exists on its own terms, and that magnetic independence is impossible to ignore. Here's the unspoken reality most men never understand. Women are drawn not to perfection, but to mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of reactions, mastery of emotional flow. When she tests you and you pass, it is not just attraction she feels. It is curiosity, admiration, and subtle fascination. She will start to think about you in moments you aren't there. She will wonder what you are doing, how you feel, what motivates you. This is not accidental. It is the result of your internal control, the reflection of a man who does not bend to expectation. She wanted drama, she wanted chaos, but what she got instead was a mirror of composed strength. Desire, respect, and trust now coexist in her subconscious. Every interaction becomes charged with tension she cannot explain, yet she feels compelled to seek more. She tests again, not maliciously, but instinctively, to see if your strength is consistent. And it is. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to overcompensate or chase. Your calmness, your awareness, your subtle intelligence, and your quiet confidence speak louder than words ever could. You have entered the rare category of men who leave a lasting imprint, not by trying, but by existing fully in their own energy. Here is the most powerful truth. When a woman experiences a man who is emotionally sovereign, psychologically aware, and strategically present, she becomes drawn to him in ways she cannot fully control. She may not admit it aloud, she may try to rationalize it, but her mind and body respond instinctively. She thinks about you, analyzes you, and remembers moments of your interaction with clarity. The emotional pull is profound because it was never manufactured. It emerged naturally from your presence, from your reaction, or more accurately, your lack of expected reaction, and your ability to stay composed under subtle pressure. She didn't expect this, and that's why she will never forget it. Now, here's what I want you to do. Think about that moment when she tested you, when she pushed just to see how you would react. What exactly did you do that surprised her? I want you to reflect honestly. Then, write it in the comments. How did your unexpected reaction change the dynamic? I guarantee when you articulate it, you will see the patterns of your own strength, awareness, and influence. And if this insight resonates with you, like the video, subscribe for more psychological truths men are never told, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Here's a personal question for you. If a woman tests you 10 times and you remain calm, confident, and composed 7 out of 10 times, what does that say about your control over your own energy? Write your answer in the comments. And remember, mastery isn't about perfection. It's about presence, strategy, and consistency. She wanted to see your reaction, but what she got instead was something she will never forget.